come to Mondello Park for the MEC Sprints, which are rounds 11 and 12 of the Naylor Engineering National Hillclimb and Sprint Championship. The MEC Club were resting their Knoll venue this year and brought us to Mondello Park for a pure racetrack experience. This attracted a few extra drivers that haven't been seen on the Southern Hills for a while. Saturday saw the return of championship contender Michael Connolly sharing Sylvie Mullins' Gould. He put the borrowed car to good use, claiming second place on Saturday behind Mullins, who was using the event as a shakedown for the Leinster Trophy races. Michael sat out Sunday, just maintaining eligibility to score on the maximum number of events.
Michael Connolly, you came out yesterday and borrowed Sylvie Mullins' car. That must have been an interesting phone call to make.
Yeah, in fairness to Sylvie, we were chatting all along on how I was getting the car back together, and he offered it very kindly. So massive thanks. He's been more than generous since we've ever even thought about getting the Gould. So yeah, it was just a privilege just to drive the car, to be honest.
I heard you were actually really close to having your one back together. Yeah. Throttle bodies, was it, were sticking?
Yeah, basically the fire extinguisher powder must have got in on the sliders for the throttle bodies, and yeah, we manoeuvred them with a bit of lubricant over about 2 weeks, and they were coming back perfect, but as soon as we started the car and it got warm, it just locked solid. So no fun. So we just strip it apart and see what it is. Yeah, so hopefully be ready to go for Donegal anyway.
And this actually means you just have, at this point, you've the minimum amount of counting rounds, so you didn't want to make sure of it today, no?
I know. Look, I literally did what I needed to do, just about. So I'm happy enough to go into Donegal and needing the results, so it should be fun.
Joe Courtney had led after run 1, with some aerodynamic additions to the Reynard, but the Gould drivers established their domination over the afternoon, and Sylvie took his third win of the season.
Sylvie Mullins, we're at the MEC Sprint based on the international section of Mondello. You did very well yesterday.
Yeah, lovely, beautiful circuit. It's part of the international run we would do in Mondello when it's to the Libra. So I suppose I have a little advantage. I know it quite a bit, but it's lovely. It's brilliant sprint.
You had a visitor in your car yesterday.
Yeah, well, he needed one day just to keep him in the championship, and look at why not, and he has one, so he knows what it's about. Yeah,
he had a deposit, so
yeah, well, I told him he couldn't beat me, so he could drive it, but he couldn't beat me. But anyway, he did well.
He did indeed. Yeah, it's a difficult thing driving someone else's car, I think.
Absolutely. Look at it. It's if I went into his car, it'd be totally alien to me as well. So he got grips with it fairly quickly. So, and he got a couple of balks, so he got more actual time and running time in the car. But no, he did well now. Delighted for him.
No, great, and we appreciate your part in keeping the championship alive for us watching as well.
Yeah, I suppose Joe, if he didn't get out today or yesterday, it wouldn't have been pointless for him going to Knockalla. So look at it, and that's where it should be decided, in Knockalla. In 2012 it was the same with me and Simon. It was decided in Knockalla, so look at what better place to do it, you know.
With the Gould not running 100% on Sunday, failing to reach its Saturday times, Joe sniffed an opportunity. Sylvie led by 1/100th of a second after run 1. Courtney would have to squeeze every ounce of performance from his Reynard to make the most of this chance. After run 2, Mullins had opened a bit of an advantage, fastest by just over 4/10. Joe closed this to 7/100ths on the third run, and neither improved on run 4. The organisers were just managing to squeeze in a 5th run with their large entry and running 2 laps for everyone on the international section of Mondello. Tyres were swapped and scrubbed, engines were tweaked by laptops. It was all down to the final run. 85.19 was the best Sylvie could manage, over 8/10 faster than any of Joe's previous runs. The Galway man would have to give it everything, and he did. The Reynard arrived steaming into the paddock, and before seeing official printed times, both drivers had seen the clock. Joe Courtney had done it by 1/100th of a second, a sensational result, and an extra win that could have huge significance should the championship come down to a tiebreak in Donegal. As far as we can judge, if it's between Michael and Joe for the win in the Northwest, Courtney must take one win to retain the championship. Connolly needs the two.
Joe Courtney, you're just in off the 5th run.
Yeah.
It sounds like you may have got it there by 1/100th of a second.
Yeah, that's what the clocks have said, and everybody's come over congratulating me. So we haven't seen a final timesheet yet, but I'm hoping. I had a cracking last run there. Now that I pulled out my new tyres and gave it everything, I don't think there's any more in it, So delighted with that.
How much of an increase in pace is that over your 4th run or your next best?
Almost a second. Yeah. So, I saw the clock and I was delighted when I saw 85:18. Like I knew I'd done my best, and then I came in and asked Sylvie, and he said, "Oh, 85:19," or was it 85:15? I was like, "Oh no, I can't handle this." So, look, we haven't seen a final timesheet yet, but the car has been fantastic. It's been a great weekend.
It's literally steaming there.
It's steam. I don't think there's any more in it. Delighted. Just need to let the dust settle now and actually see a timesheet. I'll be really happy then. Because
we see you have a new kind of diffuser on the side there. Was that helping?
Yeah, it has. It really has. Literally it's 2 weeks ago since Limerick, and we've been working on the car since. It's different car handling, set up. All the front suspension has been changed, the floor, diffuser, anti-roll bars and all that sort of stuff. So to come away with a win especially against Sylvie, is fantastic. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, on this type of track in particular.
Yeah.
So and with Michael making up the round yesterday, the championship is fully alive. So it's going to the wire.
It's going to Donegal. That's what everyone wants to see. To be honest, I was kind of hoping Michael wouldn't show up yesterday, but he has. He's done one day, which was fair of him. And it's going to go to the last round probably, so that's what everybody wants to see. Keep all the spectators interested, so delighted now. So we'll have a couple of weeks now to let the dust settle and get ready for Donegal again,
Behind the scenes, the man responsible for the engines in those top two cars, Phil Price, gave us an insight to his input.
Phil Price, Mr. Connacht Competition Engines. You're the man that facilitates a lot of this fun and the top two cars here today.
Yes, very pleased obviously. Both cars are very good. Both engines are superb in their own way really. The V8 gives a much better delivery of power instantly, whereas this engine will give a top end performance and by the result, they can live with each other, which is excellent around a track. Maybe on a hill where you are asking for a lot of instant power, the V8 will be a better engine, and this will struggle a little bit. But at the end of the day, very pleased.
And you were kind of tweaking on both of them over the weekend as well.
Well, when you build engines in an environment of a workshop, you can only make certain changes and deliver the power as such that the dyno can pick up. So when they're in the chassis, you have chassis issues as well that the engine needs to overcome. So what you can do is, by talking with the ECU, you can make subtle adjustments that the driver will either feel or not feel, but it makes the engine run smoother, and that goes in all forms of motorsport.
Yeah. Phil, you don't often get a chance to come over and see these Irish lads. A few years ago, we saw a bit more of you.
Yeah, it's been a while. Obviously, it's just time and energy. I used to drive with Dermot in this car actually, which I enjoyed immensely. But unfortunately, my age and lack of suppleness has stopped me getting in single seaters really. So Dermot did ask me for a drive this weekend, but once again, not really to be. So I'll just come over here and see everybody, who makes me feel most welcome, and that's something that should be said. over the years, it's been great.
Yeah. Oh, you were a great support to our championship for a number of years as well. So it's always been appreciated.
Well, thanks very much. And it's long may it be continue. So it's great. Thanks very much indeed.
Former Hillclimb and Sprint champion Michael Roach, who spends most of his time competing in the north these days, was enjoying the weekend at the track venue.
Michael Roach, you were fourth yesterday. You've just gone one better today, third.
Third place today, but no way near the lads. But look, had a good time, so it was grand. Enjoyed it.
Your car is turbocharged these days, is that right?
I boosted turbo, yeah. It's just good fun, anyway.
We haven't seen you in a while because I think you've been Libre racing the last few years, is that right?
Yeah, I've been Libre racing and doing sprints in the north. Just haven't been doing hills, and hopefully I'll run more events like this. I really enjoyed it this weekend. It was great now.
It's the right place for a single seater, I suppose.
Ideal, yeah. Really enjoyed it. And I'll tell you, if there was more of these, I'd say there'd be a lot more fellas out. I hope people are watching. The people that matter to watch this stuff.
You were mad enough to do the rest of the game though in your time.
Yeah, no, I never criticised. No, I did my time and enjoyed it too as well. But been there, done that, and so, haven't retired yet.
You enjoyed this particular layout at the track as well?
Oh yeah, no, it's good. It's a nice spin now. It's got a bit of everything. It's grand, plenty of speed and nice slow bits as well. It's just the boys are too quick. Can't do much about that.
That's some battle they had, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great. Fair play to Joe, and it was nice to see him getting there. I know Sylvie had his problems, but still Joe done well. It was a great result.
There was more giant slaying going on behind those top single-seaters. The smaller Class 6 Radical of Alex Wilsden was keeping ahead of Rory Stevens' more powerful Class 7 car, despite a late challenge from Stevens. On Sunday, Rory's car succumbed to a slipping clutch and he retired early. They achieved 5th and 6th positions Saturday and 4th and 5th Sunday. Russell Stanworth was enjoying a much better weekend in his Reynard Opel Lotus, and he held off a late challenge from Deirdre McKinley's similar car on Sunday, as she got to grips with the car in this environment. Their best results were 6th and 7th here. John Mahon was fastest of the single-seaters in Class 6 on Saturday, showing his Mondello knowledge to claim a second in the class. Enda Byrne was third, back in the Ray Kawasaki with Siobhan McCann. Robert Bell was just behind him too, for 4th and 10th place overall. With growing experience of the track, this result was reversed on Sunday, with Enda fastest of this group, just ahead of Robert Bell in the Crosley 30F, taking 3rd in class, and John Mahon taking 10th position overall. Dara Fay took 1st in Class 1A both days, continuing to enjoy his season.
Dara Fay, you were flying it in Class 1A there yesterday at the MEC Sprints here in Mondello, in your Suzuki Swift Mark 1. This is a fairly historic car. It's got a long motorsport history.
Yeah, the car is one of a couple of cars that were manufactured by Suzuki Sport back in the 1980s. They were produced to go rallying on, first of all, so the cars were assembled pretty good, and this is probably one of the only surviving cars from that initial batch of cars that were manufactured. Obviously back then they were kind of new, but their technology was kind of a little bit ahead of its time, in the sense that it was twin cam 16 valve for a 1.3 engine, was way ahead of really what anybody like BMC had to offer around that time. So when it came out initially, it obviously had an immediate impact on motorsport and had a lot of interest in having it involved in motorsport. Over the years then, other forms of motorsport have found out how reliable the engine especially was in the cars, and they've ended up in a lot of Escorts and Sunbeams and a rake of different machinery over the years. So they're a great little car and very, very reliable.
It's nice to see one preserved in where it belongs.
Yeah, there's not many of them left, as I say, in original condition. I suppose they were taken for their parts, in the sense that a lot of people, wanted the engines, so they scrapped the cars and took the engines. But little did they realise how good a little car they actually are. The handling on the car is just phenomenal. That's what I love about it, is because it's so easy to drive. It has a beam-back axle, coil-over suspension, and the trust you have in the car really is what I find it helps me kind of get good times on it, as well as obviously the power that the engine actually puts out.
With a beam back axle, does that kind of give you a little bit of back off oversteer? Would you say?
Yeah, a little bit. But I can balance it with left foot braking, and that's one of the other techniques that I use to try and keep the car balanced the whole time, which is very, very good. It takes a little bit of a while to get used to it, but it's funny, after a while it nearly becomes natural. When I sit into the car, I automatically feel comfortable left foot braking, whereas it's not something I ever do on a road car. So it's just something, again, I've owned the car for approximately 20 years, and you just get to know how to drive something after that amount of time, which is why I've kind of kept with it all those years.
Pat McEntee was second in the Mark II Swift from Deirdre McKinley, who has a Swift engine in her Nova. As in the Reynard, she improved position on Sunday and took second in Class 1A then. William Power continues to throw his tall Mini around to great effect, claiming third in the class on the second day. The Centos were spectacular with their road tyres on the racetrack. Gary Egan was back on top for the 2 days with his smooth lines. Billy White, sharing Egan's car, was second on each occasion. Danny Hurley pushed very hard to claim third on Saturday, holding off Damien Walsh and Brian Kerwin. Aidan Courtney made another guest appearance in Damien's car and took third on Sunday. Walsh was fourth again, with a spectacular Kerwin just behind. The ladies in this class were enjoying close battles too. Elaine Kerwin and Chloe Bell were swapping positions all day on Saturday. Elaine was fastest in the end. On Sunday, Chloe led after runs 2, 3 and 4, but Kerwin took the advantage on the final run. It was great to see Leanne Carroll back after her big off in Limerick, and she made great improvements to her times throughout Sunday. The result in Class 2 was the same both days. Gary Graham was the fastest, with Ger Lunigan returning to share his car second. Tony Banville had a bit of a tip in the slippery conditions on Saturday morning, but recovered to take 2 third places. Their championship class battle is tightening up. We haven't seen Robert Dwan for a while, but he was impressive, winning Class 3A on Saturday in the Falcon Mini. Unfortunately, a broken rocker put him out of contention on Sunday.
Robert Dwan, you were the winner in Class 3A yesterday, but you've trouble here on Sunday morning.
Yeah, a bit of bother there in the first timed run. She's after letting go of a rocker. Just broke. Don't really know. We were actually just looking at the actual fracture of it there, and we can see that it had been already cracked, and it was a matter of time really.
And do you think this is the source of the problem, or is this a symptom?
More than likely, this with the new cam, probably much higher lift and longer lift, so it's probably just with the older rockers, it's just putting them under a lot more pressure than they were originally made for. So that's kind of the way the thing goes, Oh,
that's a shame. Now you were flying it yesterday.
Yeah, I was pretty happy now with yesterday's pace. It was great to get top saloon, and it was great to be back out. We missed a couple of rounds there throughout the year, but we thought we were out of the woods, but evidently not.
Is there a concern that this has done more damage further down?
Maybe, yeah. We need to kind of examine it and investigate a bit more. She might have sucked something in through one of the inlets, or just wait and see. Just take it apart and wait and see.
And if it's all good, would Donegal be on the cards?
Yeah, we'd like to get to Donegal to be great. I never did Donegal, so I'd love to do it, and it should be doable. We try and we got new rockers before. We had a problem with pushrod. We were broken pushrod. We got newer rockers, and they seem to be much stronger. So if we get 6 more of those, it should hold together for Donegal anyway.
Rob's in-car shows us the dramatic pace of this remarkable little car. Peter Boggin was second in his Mark II Escort, but was promoted to first on Sunday in the absence of Dwan. Vincent Deary was similarly boosted a position to second on Sunday. He told us a bit about his impressive Nova.
Vincent Deary, you were out yesterday in Class 3A going very well with your Nova.
Yes, not too bad. I was third in class yesterday. Now some stiff opposition. There's a lot of good cars in that class. Class 3A is the most complex class of the whole lot. There's Lotus 7s and Escorts and things like this. And Robert Wan's Mini, which is nearly unbeatable anyway. So to get anywhere near them is good enough for me.
Is your car a rallycross derived?
It's built for rallycross, yes, but I kind of concentrating more on hill climbs and sprints now. It's cleaner, easier in the car, but yeah, it is basically a rallycross car, converted for hills.
We see you most years in time for Donegal. That must be one of your favourites, is it?
That's the hill everyone wants to go to. They've done all right up there now the last couple of years. Yeah. It's a long way up for a short run, but it's well worth every second of it. Yeah. Great hill, great hill.
The Donegal Motor Club's always good to give value, though. You usually get the 5 runs each day.
Get 5 or 6 each day, but seeing the view alone is worth the entry fee, just to go up and see the place.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be used as a holiday.
And is this an engine you've developed yourself? It's the 2 litre 16 valve red top.
A 2 litre red top. It's an alloy block, a special alloy block, just to keep the weight down in the front of the Nova. But it's a special cylinder head and camshafts and all. It's pushing out 280 horsepower. And it's a 6-speed sequential gearbox. And she's geared for about 110 or 115 mile an hour because the straights are very short. But it's all about acceleration and quick punch out of the corners. That's the whole car is all about. And it's light. It only weighs 750 kilos, so it's light for the power it has. It's built from an ex-rallycross car we were using before. It met a bad end here at Mondello one day many moons ago. And we just got another shell and built all the bits into it. But it's basically only looks like a Nova. That's all. We'll never stop at it. Just the same shape. And the roof and the windscreen is about all that's left from the standard Nova.
It even looks like it's a longer track as well. Is that right?
Yeah, it is a bit longer track. The back wheels are pushed back 4 inches, and she's wider and she's lower down. But it goes well.
It gives it more stability.
It's fairly easy drive now with the longer wheelbase. It leaves it a bit less twitchy.
And we see you have an awful lot of air equip in the engine bay as well.
It just makes it look neat and tidy, alright, yes. She's dry sumped, It's dry sumped. That's the oil tank, that's the fuel tank there beside it, and an oil cooler here. So I'll just keep it reliable, make it last as long as I can.
And you actually have everything in the front engine bay, and a lot of people have stuff kind of shifted to the back and everything. It seems to be it's all there.
Try and get her off start line. Just everything is as far forward as can. The weight distribution is about 70-30, which normally everybody would look for 50-50, but it's just try and get the power down through the front tyres.
Yeah.
The top 3 in this class were very close on Sunday, with Thorsten Schmidt reaching the podium in his Mark II Escort. Class 3B was also extremely competitive, with Brendan Keane getting the best of his car both days, winning convincingly. Mick Walsh had one of his best hill climb and sprint results, with second on Saturday, holding off Peter McKinley for a day. Peter McKinley split the sports cars on Sunday, savaging a set of tyres in the process. Dennis Hogan was on fire in the BMW. No, really, he was. Just 1200ths behind Peter on day 1 in the BMW, and double that behind Mick on day 2. Luckily, that was quickly extinguished. Richie O'Mahony was back in the RT2000 and got 5th both days, enjoying his visit. Tom Hackett is a motorsport tourist in his Westfield 1700.
Tom Hackett, you're a bit of a hill climber on tour, is that right?
Yeah, we've come from Australia. Came over here in March and purchased a car and a trailer and a motorhome and started travelling around England and then Europe. We've done visits to Spain and France, Italy, and then back here, and we've come to Ireland to do a couple of your famous runs here. Yeah. So this is the excuse for our holiday from Australia.
You're an experienced competitor back in Australia?
Yeah, I run a little car in the events in Australia on the east coast. We have about 7 or 8 hill climbs that I can run locally. They're all pretty good, but they're not as long as the French or the Spanish ones. Spanish ones were 7.5, 8 kilometres long, so they were fantastic. Ours are about 1 kilometre.
Yeah.
Same as England and over here. So, yeah.
And would you be closed public roads, or are they on private land in Australia?
Mostly they're closed roads or both. Some are in a town, like a sprint circuit like this one, but in a town where they just close the whole town up for the day or the weekend. Others are in especially club held events, on special tracks. Yeah. But One they've just closed in Australia, has been running for 65 years, was in the middle of Newcastle City, and they closed the whole city for the event every year, once a year, and finally People Noises sort of said you can't have engine noise. So.
It's such a shame. I mean, it's got that 65 years of culture. Yeah, it doesn't seem right.
Well, people like Jack Brabham did their training on that track,
Yeah.
so it's a good track.
Oh, it's the same battle here to keep some of the older venues, but it is important, and it's part of our folk culture at this stage when some events have been run for 100 years.
Well, I've got to say, some of the roads we've travelled on in Europe should be Hillclimb roads.
Yeah.
They should be closed for Hillclimb roads. They're just perfect. Yeah.
And what have you raced in Australia yourself? What do you normally use?
I normally race a homemade Volkswagen, which started life as a shooting buggy on a farm, and became a Hillclimb racer, and it's quite successful and does really well. Yeah.
And is that a single seater?
It runs an old school Volkswagen air-cooled motor, and sitting out the back.
Yeah.
And I do have an advantage when it's wet because I get a lot of traction. But it's just fun. Well, I do it all for fun.
Clive Brandon was fastest on scratch Saturday after just one run in a Lotus Europa. Kieran Gagan spent the day chasing down his time and got to 12 hundredths behind on the final run in his BMW 2002. Wolfgang Sneyer was third the first day and moved up to second on Sunday. Brandon won again the second day, with Mick O'Shea third, not having a perfect day in the MGB GT. The historic class was really well supported, as always at this Motor Enthusiast Club event. Also out over the weekend was Seamus Anderson in the Anglia. He broke a half shaft and then borrowed Mick O'Shea's car after further complications held up the repair. Liam Ruth was as high as fourth on scratch in his MG Midget Sunday. Colin Grant was fifth on day 2 in the Ginetta G15. Sean Murray's Lotus Elan was back to full health after an engine rebuild. Noel Kavanagh competed in an MGB Roadster. PJ Gannon made another appearance in the Sign of the Beast Morris Mini. Edwin Reinhardt made a welcome return in an Austin Healey Sprite, and Ken McAvoy showed his beautifully restored ex-Frank Nuttall Ford Glen Special. John Whitley was the sole contender in Class 5 as Gerard O'Connor's car had a clutch problem after his forced engine rebuild since Limerick. This class for Formula 4s and Formula Vs is sadly under-supported at the moment, despite John and Ger showing us just how much fun it can be all year. There must be a lot of these cars gathering dust in sheds around the country. Tom Gardner was the fastest Honda Civic on Saturday, winning Class 8. He met stiff opposition on Sunday from Derek Butler, who went quicker on Sunday afternoon in his Civic. Alan Drew was second in another Honda the first day, while David Byrne was third in a Nova on day 2. Liam Bohan gave us a masterclass in drifting with his rear-wheel drive Starlet, and to great effect too, first in Class 9 each day. Danny Callan was second both times in his Opel Corsa. Third on Sunday went to Kevin McCarthy's Evo 10, while that position had been taken by an ever-entertaining John Farrell on Saturday. The MEC Sprints at Mondello added interesting variety to this year's Irish Hillclimb and Sprint Championship, which has traditionally run on mostly closed public roads, and will stimulate some debate on the direction of the sport into the future. Next month's Knockalla Hillclimb is a classic of the old school venues, and no better place to watch the final shootouts of the 2016 season.